Hi, let's learn some WinAutomation from Softomotive. I had my hands on this product for like a week and I think it's very cool and very intuitive. I've been using UiPath a lot, but yeah, I like this WinAutomation thing. So today we will solve the UiPath Fibonacci case. Some of you know that in Danish and this is in English. So what we will do here is that we will write up the first 12 Fibonacci numbers, and actually our robot will be able to write whatever amount of Fibonacci number you want. The Fibonacci number, they are a sequence of integers where the first two elements are 1 and each of the following elements is the sum of the two previous items. Mathematically, we can describe this as follows. So the Fibonacci is always 1, the function value, whenever x is equal or less than 2, and yeah, as x is greater than 2, it will be the function value of x minus 1 plus the function value of x minus 2. The first 12 integers Fibonacci numbers are listed here. That's what we want to list. We want some 4 conditions to be met. It must be a while loop. Addition should be made on an online calculator such as Lommeregneren. We will use a major calculator, but it's the same. It's an online calculator. This Lommeregneren DK got too many bugs. Yeah, it says that it's the UiPath activities, but we will solve it in WinAutomation. The results must be entered into a Notepad, and then a 1 second delay is followed. And finally, we'll open a browser with this link to be opened. We got some suggestions for activities. That's the UiPath activities suggestions, but we will try to find out how to use WinAutomation instead. So without further ado, we will go right ahead. We will minimize this. We'll click New Process. I strongly encourage you to open your own WinAutomation client and repeat after things I'm doing. I'll make time for that, and I think you will learn a lot from that. So click Process Designer and wait a bit, and we'll see our main window here. We got the actions, activities here, and then the variables manager here. Those are the two main windows we're using, as well as the main window where all the action is dragged in. So let's talk a bit about what we are going to do. We need to make sure that we only print out the first 12 Fibonacci numbers, and for that we will only be running this loop 12 times. We will need a counter, and that's the x value here. So whenever x is 1 here, 2, 3, 4, 5. So x is basically just saying what number we're at. So here we are at number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. X is equal to 7, and then the function value is 13. But hey, let's try to think about that. That must be a while loop where we increase x by 1 every time we run the loop. It's called loop here in WinAutomation. Then we need to store the two Fibonacci numbers, the current Fibonacci number and the last Fibonacci number, because we'll be needing those to make the addition. 1 plus 1 is 2, 3 plus 5 is 8, so we need to store those two. And then we need a string to write everything into, like every number. And that's 4 variables. We might need a help variable, but I'll introduce that later to you. That's a bit more easy. So let's start by declaring all 4 variables. We'll do that by clicking Set Variable, drag it in. Our first variable, that was the x value. So that was we call that intX. Int is for integer. That's just my basic prefix to put before numbers. But if you prefer anything else, you can call it whatever you want. And we'll set the default value to 1 because in the first run here, x is equal to 1. So now we set the variable here. We'll see that it takes on the value nothing, even though we set it up here to 1. But that's because we need to run the robot before it gets the value. Well, it doesn't matter. We don't have to run the robot, but it was just to show you that it will be getting the value after we run the robot. So let's declare the other 3 variables. So our current Fibonacci number, well, that should be the int number 1, and for that we can also have the default value of 1 because it will take on the first two Fibonacci numbers are 1. Then we will have our second Fibonacci number that will have 1 as well, and we will declare this into number 2 here, and then we will have our string. The string was where we will write these 12 numbers into, and that's empty to begin with because there's nothing, and we could call this str for string and then call it fib like this. So here it's called text and numerical. I call it integer and string, but that's what you're used to, doesn't matter. And now we could create the loop. Remember we talked about that we wanted to run 12 times x up to 12th, and for that we will create the while loop in WinAutomation. It's just called loop, and we want it with a condition, so we'll drag that in after the set variables. We want the loop to run while x is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up to 12. That means that we will click the wheel here, find the x variable intX here. We want x to be equal to or less than 12, like this. And then we need, if we ran this loop, it will just run an infinite number of times because we have to increase x by 1 every time we run it. Otherwise, x will just be, intx will just be 1 every time, and this will always be true, and we created an infinite loop. Not preferable. So we could use the increase variable here. We will increase our variable. Now we can click a wheel. I don't know why, but tell me what to do. I need to type in that the variable name is intx, and we need to increase it by 1 every time, like this. So now this loop will only run 12 times. So first the value is 1, and then all the way up to 12 it will run, and then it will be 13, and it will not be satisfying the condition, the loop will stop. So that's our loop. And let's think about what to put into the loop. Well, we need to put the calculation of the Fibonacci numbers, and we can split them into two things. One, when x is equal to or x is equal to or less than 2, and one group where x is greater than 2. We can be doing that by an if. Let's try that. We'll search for if. We'll drag if in. It doesn't matter where increase variable is, but I like to have it in the end. Let's see here. We need to have one condition where x is less than or equal to 2, and one for the rest. So what we'll be doing here is, again, we will choose the intx less than or equal to 2. Let me get some water. I'm completely dry in the mouth. We need the other condition as well, and we need the if, and then here it's else if. That's just like if, then, or else. So here, what's under here is when x is less than or equal to 2, and here it's when intx, find it here, is less than or equal to 12. So it first takes on the first 2 here, and then the next 12. That must be 10 here. So right now this loop will just run 12 times. Nothing really happens here. Let's think about the first 2 times. The Fibonacci numbers should just be 1 the first 2 times. We don't need to do anything here. We just need to think about what we should write into the string fib here, the text, and in the end of the loop, or maybe just by the increase variable. So we'll need the set variable here. Let's put it here. So we need something to be stored in the string fib like this. What should you store in the string? Well, we need to store the previous value of string fib, because when we are here and we want something to be written in, we need to have the previous string fib, so we cannot delete those. And then we want the new fib number. That's this int number 1. So we could find it here. And then we need our some kind of a space, because there was a space between the numbers. We'll do that by person signs, quotation mark, space, quotation mark, space, person sign, like this. So now what's happening here, it will run, nothing is really going on into this if. So this loop will run 12 times. It will write in the string fib, the current string, and then our Fibonacci integer number here up from here, that's 1. And it will run 12 times. Nothing, we haven't done the calculations or anything, so it'll just be 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. We could try to see that. We will just, we could write in the text document, or we could see it over here. We'll just try to use the variable manager to take a look at it, just what's happening. We can see that over here is just 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and the counter here, 12, that's what we talked about. It will go on to 13, and then it won't meet the conditions anymore. So now we want to write in the Fibonacci numbers. I know it's not correct yet, only the two first ones are correct, but we could write in the text document. So I got a text document here at the desktop, new text document, Notepad, fine. We'll search for write text to file here. We'll place it after the loop, because we will only have to write it in one time. The file path is at the desktop, and this is this new text document. We'll click that, and what we should write into is the string fib. So we'll just click the wheel, find it here. Append new line, no, not really. Override existing content, fine. Then we'll just click OK. We could try again, and we can see that the only thing we're doing is writing this string fib into the text document. So when it's done, we could click the text document, and we'll see that we got 12 ones. That's beautiful. We'll have 1/6 part correct and 5/6 part incorrect, but that's because we haven't filled out the else if here. Let's think about what we should do here in the else if. Well, in the first run, we need to add the int number 1 and int number 2, because that's how the Fibonacci works. It has to have the two last int numbers in it. So let us have a set variable here. We will drag that into the, make sure it's into the else if. And so our next Fibonacci number, well, that's characterized with called int number 1, and that should be exactly int number 1 and int number 2. So we'll find those two variables, and to make an addition, we'll have to do it in the person sign here. So we'll be doing this, and the addition will be made in here. Click OK. This should work. However, we need to have the int number 2 here. We need to then in the next round, this was int number 1 here, but as we see, the int number 1 is increased, so we need a help variable. So we'll make another set variable here. We could call that, well, just call it help. That's good. So we will call it int help, and we will just be saving the int number 1 before it's changing. So int number 1 here, and so that's how we store it. And after this calculation, we need to put this int number 1, this help variable, or the value here, we need to put that into int number 2. So we'll drag in another set variable, and we'll set it into a the int number 2, and that was our intHelp here. So basically this help variable is just storing a value for us while we make this calculation. So this should work. This should work to be writing our Fibonacci sequence. We'll see. We could follow it here. 2, 3, so far so good. 5, well, it's working. It needs to go up to 144. We can see that this intHelp actually stores it as well. So now we have been reading all the first 12 Fibonacci numbers, and now it's easy, because let's say that the case was that let's write out the first 20 Fibonacci numbers. We'll just write 20 in here, then we could run it. I know it's taking a bit longer, but then it will write out the first 20 Fibonacci numbers and so on. So we could make like the first 1,000 Fibonacci numbers if we wanted. If we wanted, I'm sure it's on the internet already, so we don't need to. But if we wanted, it was just to show you. And now you'll see that here it's basically just taking all the same values. So what's wrong? Well, that was a great example of error handling. We need to fix it right here as well. We need to be fixing to 20 here. I like these live videos because you'll see the errors as well, because whenever you build a robot, process errors, I mean, you'll make a lot of things that you need to correct all the time, and this was just one of it. And the ability to see what's wrong, it's very important. It wasn't complicated here, I admit, but yeah, that's a good skill to have. So now it's finished, and let's see if now we have been written the first 20 Fibonacci numbers. However, that was not the case. It was just to show you, if you wanted to see the beauty of the first 20 Fibonacci numbers, we'll just need the 12th. So let's look at the case. Let's make the rest of the case as well. We've solved the difficult one. Now we just need to fill in things. So we need to have a 1 second delay after the Notepad. How do we do that? We'll click delay. No. We'll search for wait. As I said, I only have this WinAutomation for a week. So let's drag in the wait. That was after. And we'll wait for 1 second, because that's what they asked. Let me see. Yep. Here. And let's look at the case again. Then we need to open a browser to write this in, and we need to make the calculations. We actually made the calculations in the robot here, but we need to make calculations in a browser. So what we'll be doing here, if we'll be opening the browser and use it for search for Internet Explorer, launch Internet Explorer, web automation. We will drag that in. I'll just open it up here. So now we will see that it will launch the automation browser. So we'll open the browser and we will search for the meter calculator here. Well, I think as YouTube, we need to find it here. Google is way better. Meter calculator here. And then I think this is the one. Let's have a look. We'll use this scientific, I think. Yep. This is the URL we want to use. We'll paste in the URL here. We could use normal, maximized, minimum. And then we'll have the action output. So we can refer back to this instance as the variable called browser. We could name it anything else, but we'll just use this. So that's good. Now we are launching the Internet Explorer. Then we could, well, the easy part is to make the last thing here, just this link in. So we need to go to a certain web page. We will go here, go to web page. Right here, and you can see that it's referring back to a browser. We need to be navigating to a URL now, and the URL here is the one defined in the case here, like this. So that was the easy part. Now we need to be using this calculator to fill in. So what we need is that we need to find a text field. That's the Populate Text Field on a web page, and we will doing that here actually, before the help variable, after the help variable. So that's the browser window. That's good. And then we need to where to fill in, and we can select the control. There's nothing in here, so we need to add, and we should see that in a moment here. Now it's here. It took on a bit, but you can see that we can choose the different parts of the thing. We'll use here. And we can see that we need to press Ctrl left click to make the input. Here. And what should we fill in? Well, we need to fill in the calculation in which we have been using here. So that's basically text to fill in. We need to fill in the calculation. That's int number 1 and then we need to here we made the calculation in the robot. We want the two numbers to be written in up here. So now we have been making this calculation because we're making it on the web. If we are calculating in the robot, we'll need to have them in the first same person signs. So number 2, like this, and this should do. So now we fill in int number 1 plus int number 2. However, we need to press something like, if we do this, it will only, we can't get the 2, we could get it from here, where we want it in here. So what we do is we click enter, and then we want this value. So then we want to send a key to the window. Send keys here. And what do we want to send? We just want to send a enter here. And that's good. We'll click OK. Now we clicked enter. We can delete this one because now we calculated here. So we will delete here. And then we need to have the now we're here. Then we need to store it, and we need to mark everything. So, and then we could make a control copy, like Control C, and then get the clipboard afterwards. Let me show you how that works. So we'll need to send another key. Here we'll just be using the Control A. So I'm not 100% sure that's maybe it's a modifier. Yeah, Control. And then we need to have another thing here, and that's, let me guess, it's this. That's we mark it all. Like let me show you here. If we do Control A, we'll mark it all. Then we need to Control C to copy it. We'll just sending in the keys again. And modifier was over here, Control plus, and then the curly brackets. C, I think it needs to be big. I think I struggled a bit with that like the last time. So now we copy it, and then we need to get the clipboard text. So let me see here. Get clipboard text here. And the clipboard text is what we copied it in here. Where do we want to store it? We want to store it in the int number 1. Because that's our newly found Fibonacci number. So what we've been doing here, like in these 4 things, opening, populating thing on the web page, and doing these keys. It's basically just the same as we did before. We are multiplying it, but we're multiplying it inside the calculator here. So let's try to see if that works. The robot should be fine now. It's always funny to see if things works. It's opening a window here. We're not able to see it. We could have maximized it, but now it's running the first 2 times. Well, that was the second. Yeah, it looks like it's working. I don't know if I can drag it down, but I'll show you in a bit. The calculator is running in the top of the window, and we can see in the variables manager that it actually works. I will drag it in here. So what's happening was, I'm sorry, this is the done. Well, that was the last part of the assignment, and the calculator we're running here. You can try it yourself, and we cannot know that was the text document before, but now the challenge is done. That's it for now. And if you have any questions, just leave them below, and I will be very happy to answer it. And yeah, that's it for the Learn Some WinAutomation for today.